Say the word bird. Now say boat. Now say bite. Three completely different vowel sounds, three completely different shapes your mouth just made. And you probably didn't think about any of it. That's the strange magic of vowels. We use them constantly, and we understand them almost never. Today, we're opening the hood on American English vowels, where they come from, how they're classified, why your cot might sound exactly like you're caught, and how all of this shapes the way we talk about the country itself. I'm going to walk you through the system, and then we're going to test it out on a real piece of writing, a description of an American city, vowel by vowel, word by word. Let's get into it. Let's start with something that sounds obvious, but isn't. A vowel is not a letter, it's a sound. Specifically, it's a speech sound made with an open vocal tract. No closure, no major obstruction of airflow, just the tongue and lips shaping an open channel while the vocal cords vibrate. That distinction matters because English spelling and English sound are, frankly, not on speaking terms. Take the word bird. The letter there is I, but the actual vowel sound is an R-colored central vowel, nothing like the I in bit. Or take sky. No vowel letter at the end at all, and yet your ear hears a diphthong gliding from an open ah to a closed e. The letter Y is doing vowel work, even though we file it under consonants in the alphabet song. So when linguists talk about American English vowels, they're not counting letters. They're counting phonemes, the distinct units of sound that can change the meaning of a word. Swap the vowel in bit for the vowel in bet, and you get a different word. That's a phoneme distinction. General American English has somewhere between 11 and 15 vowel phonemes, depending on dialect and how you count diphthongs, a number that surprises most people since we only have 5 or 6 vowel letters to work with. To keep track of all these sounds, linguists use the International Phonetic Alphabet, or IPA, a set of symbols where every symbol represents exactly one sound, no exceptions, no silent letters. It looks intimidating at first, but it solves a real problem. English spelling simply cannot represent English pronunciation with any consistency. Let's build the system from the ground up, starting with monophthongs. A monophthong is a vowel where your tongue and jaw hold a single, stable position for the whole sound. No gliding, no movement. Think of it as a vowel that doesn't change its mind partway through. We organize these by 2 dimensions: height, how high or low the tongue sits in the mouth, and backness, how far forward or back the tongue is positioned. Picture a rough trapezoid in your mouth, and every vowel has an address on that map. Front vowels are made with the tongue pushed toward the front of the mouth, near the teeth. The tightest, highest one is I, the sound in beat. Say it, and feel how close your tongue gets to the roof of your mouth. Drop the tongue slightly and relax it, and you get I, the vowel in bit. It's a common mistake for non-native speakers to blur these two together, but beat and bit are a genuine minimal pair in English. Swapping the vowel changes the word entirely. Keep lowering the tongue and you move through E, as in bet, down to A, the low front vowel in bat. One of the most distinctly American sounds, often pronounced with extra tension and a slight glide in dialects from the North and Midwest. Central vowels sit in the middle of the mouth, and this is where English gets democratic. These are the laziest, most relaxed sounds we make. The champion of this category is schwa, written at seaway, the vowel in the second syllable of sofa, or the first syllable of about. Schwa is the single most frequent vowel sound in English, and it only shows up in unstressed syllables. It's what your mouth defaults to when it isn't trying very hard. Slightly more energized is ka, the stressed vowel in but or cup. Back vowels pull the tongue toward the rear of the mouth, usually with rounded lips. High and tense is yuhos, the sound in boot. Relax it slightly and you get woo, as in book. Lower still, you reach o, the vowel many speakers use in bot, and chi, the low back vowel in bot, or father. Here's where American English gets genuinely regional. For a large and growing number of speakers, especially across the West, in New England, and increasingly nationwide, O and A have merged into a single sound. This is called the cot-caught merger, and it means that for millions of Americans, cot and caught, dawn and dawn, stock and stalk are pronounced identically. If you grew up in California, Canada, or Pittsburgh, you may not even hear these as different words. If you grew up in New York City or parts of the South, the distinction might feel obvious. Neither group is wrong. It's simply one of the clearest live sound changes happening in the language right now. Now, monophthongs hold still, but diphthongs move. A diphthong is a single vowel sound that glides from one tongue position to another within the same syllable. Your mouth starts in one place and ends in another, but your ear perceives it as one unbroken sound, not two. English has three core diphthongs that everyone agrees on. First, AI, as in bite. The tongue starts low and open, near AI, and glides up toward II. Second, ayusao, as in bout. Same low starting point, but this time gliding toward a rounded ui. And third, oi, as in boy, starting from the rounded back vowel up and gliding up to I, sir. There's a fourth category that causes debate among linguists, the vowels in bait and boat. Some analyses treat EI and OU as pure monophthongs at SC and OL. Others, more accurately for most American speakers, treat them as diphthongs because there genuinely is a small glide at the end. Say bait slowly, and you'll feel your tongue creep upward toward an u'abai as the word finishes. This disagreement is part of why you'll see vowel counts for American English ranging anywhere from 11 to 15 plus, depending on which source you're reading. Neither number is wrong. They're just drawing the boundary between monophthong and diphthong in slightly different places. If there's one feature that most distinguishes American English from British received pronunciation, it's this next category. R-colored vowels, sometimes called rhotic vowels. In non-rhotic dialects, most famously the British received pronunciation you'd hear from a BBC newsreader, the R after a vowel simply isn't pronounced. Car becomes something closer to C. But General American is a rhotic dialect. We keep that R coloring, and it actually merges with the vowel to create an entirely new sound. There are two versions. The stressed version, chator dai, appears in words like bird, her, and learn. Notice that three totally different spellings all produce the exact same vowel sound. The unstressed version, ie, shows up at the end of words like butter, teacher, and doctor. This is arguably the most iconic sound of an American accent to outside ears. That distinctive curl that non-rhotic speakers often exaggerate when doing an American impression. All right. Theory is only half the job. Let's put this system to work on real language. I want you to hear a short descriptive passage about an American city, and then we're going to take it apart. Phoneme by phoneme, word by word. Here's the passage. New Orleans exhales heat and music in equal measure. Wrought iron balconies lean over narrow streets, draped in ferns that drink the humid air. A trumpet's brassy wail drifts from an open doorway, tangled with the smell of chicory coffee and simmering roux. The Mississippi curls past the city like a slow brown ribbon, indifferent to the noise on Bourbon Street. Streetcars groan along St. Charles Avenue beneath a canopy of oak trees older than the Republic itself. This is a city built on flood and resilience, on Creole and Cajun, on grief turned into parade. Let's mine that passage for vocabulary and vowel texture. Take the word exhales. Stress falls on the second syllable, and that stressed vowel is the diphthong, eei, the same gliding sound as in bait. The word itself means breathes out, and pairing it with a city is a small personification. The sentence imagines New Orleans as a living, breathing organism, which sets the tone before we've even reached a concrete image. Wrought iron is worth pausing on just for its spelling chaos. Wrought is pronounced with the vowel odzin or eyes if you're a caught merger speaker, rhyming with caught, despite a spelling that gives you almost no clue of that. It's an archaic past tense form of work, meaning shaped or forged, and it survives today almost exclusively in this one compound phrase, describing the decorative ironwork you see on New Orleans balconies. Balconies stacks three different vowel qualities into one word. The stressed first syllable carries ai, as in bat. The second syllable reduces to schwa, akai, and the final syllable carries ai, the tense front vowel in beat. That collapsing of unstressed syllables toward schwa is incredibly common in English. It's part of why English rhythm feels so uneven compared to syllable time languages like Spanish. Draped uses ei again. You'll notice that diphthong doing a lot of work across this passage, partly because it's simply common in English, and partly because words describing slow, spreading atmospheric action, draped, wailed, played, often lean on long, sustained vowel sounds that let a speaker linger. Humid is interesting because the stressed vowel is jua, technically a glide on jaitas, followed by the vowel yasos, sometimes analyzed as its own semi-vowel cluster rather than a pure monophthong. It's the same vowel combination in music and few, and it's a small reminder that not every vowel-sounding unit in English maps cleanly onto our tidy categories. Language resists clean boxes. Brassy stresses a again in its first syllable, that same low, tense front vowel from bat. And there's something almost onomatopoeic about it. The openness and sharpness of a mirrors the loud, unsubtle quality the word is describing, a trumpet's blaring tone. Chicory carries the R-colored vowel we just discussed, in its final syllable. Chicory, a root historically roasted and blended into coffee, a practice tracing back to supply shortages in Louisiana in the 19th century, and still a point of local pride today. Roux is a French loanword, a butter and flour base for Cajun and Creole cooking, and it's pronounced with the tense back vowel, uu, as in boot. Its spelling is a fossil of French orthography sitting inside an English sentence, a small linguistic artifact of Louisiana's colonial history. Mississippi is a 5-syllable vowel roller coaster while I, I. High front vowels and schwa trading off in a bouncing rhythm that almost mimics the repetitive winding motion of the river it names. Indifferent stresses its second syllable on I, and semantically it's doing important work in the sentence, describing the river as indifferent, meaning unconcerned or impartial, sets up a contrast between the timeless, uncaring geography of the Mississippi and the loud human chaos of Bourbon Street just next to it. Canopy opens with as and closes with schwa, and then I. And it's describing the oak tree's branches meeting overhead to form a covering, like a roof, over St. Charles Avenue, a botanical image borrowed originally from the language of tents and shelters. Resilience is worth ending on. Stress lands on the second syllable, I, and the word means the capacity to recover from difficulty. An apt closing idea for a city that has weathered floods, hurricanes, and economic hardship while still, as the passage says, turning grief into parade. So why spend 20 minutes on vowels? Because vowels are where regional identity lives. Consonants in American English are relatively stable across dialects. A T is mostly a T, whether you're in Seattle or Savannah, but vowels shift constantly. The cot-caught merger in the West, the flattened eh of the inland North, the vowel shifts of the American South, the distinctive rounded vowels of a Boston accent. When you hear someone and think that's a Southern accent, or that sounds Midwestern, you are almost always responding to vowel quality first, consonants second. Understanding this system doesn't just help you analyze writing the way we just did with that New Orleans passage. It helps you actually hear language differently. Once you know that bird and butter share a sound that bit and bet don't, you start noticing the architecture underneath speech that you'd otherwise just absorb without thinking. That's American English vowels. The monophthongs holding steady, the diphthongs gliding, the R-colored vowels marking this dialect as unmistakably American. And all of it audible in something as simple as a paragraph about a city's streets. Next episode, we're doing the reverse operation, taking these same vowel categories and mapping how they shift across 5 different American regional accents. Until then, listen closely to your own vowels today. You'll be surprised what you hear.